Ladies and gentlemen, last night President Trump walked into Congress and delivered what was probably his best speech of all time. Now, this was President Trump's first congressional address since taking office again, and let me tell you what, he absolutely knocked it out of the park. And now, because of President Trump's stellar performance, the Democrats are in complete and total meltdown mode. And when I say meltdown, what I really mean is that the Democrats are completely demoralized right now. But hey, don't take my word for it. Let's take a look right at the numbers. According to the post-speech polling, an absolutely massive 76% of Americans nationwide approved of everything that President Trump had to say last night during his congressional address. Meanwhile, only 23% of Americans disapproved. Folks, that is an unbelievably positive ratio for President Trump. But you know what? It actually gets even worse for the Democrats, because in another post-speech poll, a whopping 66% of Americans said that they believe that Trump's policies are moving the country in the right direction. Meanwhile, only 34% of Americans think that President Trump is moving the country in the wrong direction. So folks, that's not just a majority of people that support President Trump, it's a supermajority. So between the numbers from these post-speech polls and also Trump's all-time record high approval ratings that he has right now, there is no question about it. The American people are in full support. They're totally on board with everything that President Trump is doing. Now, you would think that with approval numbers like this that President Trump has, the Democrats would maybe, just maybe, consider changing their tune. But nope. Instead, last night, the Democrats did what they always do: pathetic, partisan theatrics. For example, there was an entire group of Democrats who showed up to the congressional address wearing pink suits. Why? Because they were protesting Trump's so-called war on women. Now, this is where things get a little bit hypocritical. Because these very same pink-clad Democrats, just 2 days ago, mind you, all voted in favor of allowing men to compete in women's sports. So let me get this straight. Who's really waging a war on women here? Because from my point of view, it sure seems like the Democrats. And now check this out. No political event is complete without a bunch of petulant Democrats screaming and shouting. You see, throughout Trump's entire speech, there was a never-ending series of Democrat politicians booing in the audience. And then, of course, there was Texas Democratic Representative Al Green, who actually got himself kicked out of the building for heckling Trump like an unhinged lunatic. Take a look.
We won the popular vote by big numbers and won counties in our country. And won counties in our country, 2,700 to 525. On a map that reads almost completely red for Republican. Largest one-month gain ever recorded, a 41-point jump.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House and to cease any further disruptions. That's your warning. Members are engaging in willful and continuing breach of decorum, and the chair is prepared to direct the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order to the joint session. Mr. Green, take your seat. Take your seat, sir. Take your seat. The chair now directs the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order. Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
Now, folks, let's just be honest here. This type of childish, petulant behavior is exactly what the American people are sick of. The Democrats don't engage in real policy discussions. They don't debate in good faith. They don't actually even try to fix the country. All they really do is grandstand, scream, and cry, and that is exactly why the American people have completely rejected them. But hey, you know what? Let's change gears here for a second. Instead of listening to what the screeching Democrats have to say, let's touch base with some actual serious leaders. So let's take a listen to what House Speaker Mike Johnson had to say about Trump's congressional address.
America's back. America's golden age is here. The American dream is unstoppable. And a pretty amazing night. I would argue probably Donald Trump's best speech.
I loved it, Sean. It was not a speech for the mainstream media. It was a speech for the American people. And I'm sure it was received as well at home as it was there by the Republicans and the audience up in the gallery. It was really shameful what the Democrats did. I mean, they really, it was quite a spectacle. They brought shame on themselves and their party. But the American people are following what the president is delivering, and they are appreciating it. And we certainly did tonight in the chamber.
And folks, you know what? Everything he just said is 100% right. Last night, Trump wasn't up there talking to the Washington establishment. No, he was talking to the American people. And that is why Trump's favorability is so high right now. And now, speaking about President Trump resonating with Americans, and he is, I want you guys to take a look at something else that happened last night. You see, last night, President Trump, during his congressional address, took a moment to acknowledge a female athlete who suffered a life-threatening brain injury while competing against a male-to-female transgender athlete. And trust me, you're all going to want to hear what she has to say about the Democrats. Take a look.
I wonder where they think they are with the American public on this issue. You'll see them in the audience, as you saw firsthand. These Democrats, congresswomen who showed up in pink specifically to protest President Trump's policies on women. As this is happening, we've got new polling from the New York Times on biological males in women's sports. And Peyton, when asked about thinking about transgender female athletes, meaning athletes who were born male and then choose to be female and participate in women's sports, only 18% think that should be allowed. Nearly 80% of respondents say that that should not be allowed. So why do they think, Democrats, think that they're speaking for the people on this issue by protesting fairness in women's sports?
Once again, the Democrats have proven how out of touch they really are. I mean, like you said, 80% of the country agrees with this across all party lines. So for them to be willing to die on this hill just to push this agenda is absurd. And last night, I thought that the pink suits and everyone matching was real cute when, of course, the day before, 0 Democrats voted for the protection of women and girls. And then 0 Democrats stood and applauded when I was getting recognized for my injury because, like Raleigh said, I mean, they couldn't be more anti-woman, and frankly, they are anti-American. They really embarrassed themselves all night, and it was honestly sad to see, but I wish I could say I'm surprised, but I'm not.
Folks, she is absolutely right. At this point, the Democrats really are anti-American. The Democrats don't represent the American people. They don't care about protecting women, and every single one of their policies is completely saturated in hypocrisy. And guess what? The American people see it. The American people realize just how insane the Democrats are right now. And you know what? On that note, I want to play one more clip for you guys. So folks, take a listen to what Secretary of the Interior Doug Burgum had to say about why President Trump's support is so high right now.
It was inspiring last night. President Trump, he's always been fantastic delivering major addresses like this. But last night, the last portion of that speech, entirely inspiring. And of course, the thing that I think Americans see that the Democrats never report is how empathetic he is. I mean, he's been to the funeral of the fallen police officer on Long Island. He is, he's talked to the mother, the 95-year-old mother of a hostage in Russia, and promises her, "I'll get your son back," and then he delivers. Everybody that he introduced last night, that were the special Americans that were there, whether overcoming cancer, fighting through these culture wars and succeeding, he knows them. He knows their families. He's touched them personally, and I think that's part of the reason why America's connecting so strongly with President Trump and his leadership right now, is that he understands how Biden's open border policies, how inflation was affecting Americans, because he talks to them, he listens to them, and he understands their stories.
And you know what? Doug Burgum just absolutely nailed it. Americans can tell that President Trump actually cares about their day-to-day struggles. Unlike the Democrats, Trump isn't wasting time on performative nonsense. He's actually working to make people's lives better on a day-to-day basis. The Democrats spend all their time coordinating hypocritical pink suit protests and heckling inside of the Congressional building, while Trump is securing the border, cutting inflation, and getting Americans back to work. So with all of that considered, it's really no surprise that the Democrats right now have their worst approval ratings of all time. And at the end of the day, all of this is why President Trump is so beloved across all of America right now. Because all the Democrats care about these days are performative theatrics like we saw last night during Trump's congressional appeal, whereas President Trump is actually delivering results while the Democrats are just throwing temper tantrums. And folks, I'll tell you what, as we saw earlier in the video, the numbers don't lie. America stands with President Trump right now. But now, folks, before we wrap up today's video, I want to say real quick that I've actually gone ahead and made a community Facebook page where I'll be posting additional news and updates. So if you use Facebook, check out the pinned comment down below and give that page a follow. But everyone, I think that's going to be a wrap for this one. So please go down below and drop a comment. Let me know what you think about all of this. Please like the video if you liked it. Please consider subscribing to the channel. It really does help a lot. Thank you all very much for tuning in today. And of course, as always, stay safe.